Josh Miller was a beloved firefighter, celebrated as a hero by his community. After mysteriously vanishing during a devastating fire, he was declared dead, leaving behind a grieving wife, Rachel, and their young son, Sam. 6 years later, Rachel is finally piecing her life back together until an ordinary night online shatters everything she thought she knew. A single photo on social media reveals the unimaginable, thrusting her into a desperate quest for the truth. What Rachel discovers will not only challenge her memories of the man she loved, but also plunge her into a darkness far deeper and more dangerous than she ever suspected. Rachel Miller had always loved the quietness of mornings before dawn. The world felt peaceful, almost magical, untouched by the chaos of daily life. She sat by the kitchen window, cradling a hot cup of coffee in her hands, savoring the calm before the day's responsibilities rushed in. It was October in Portland, Oregon, and the trees had begun to shed leaves, covering streets in golden blankets that crunched pleasantly beneath feet. Rachel glanced at her diary on the kitchen table, her constant companion, and flipped to a fresh page. She noted the date carefully, October 17, 2017. She wrote, "Sam is growing up so fast. Josh says he's ready to teach him to ride his bike without training wheels this weekend. I'm both nervous and excited." Her handwriting flowed naturally, graceful and precise, each word carrying warmth and hope. Her husband, Josh, stepped into the kitchen, breaking her quiet reflections. Tall and athletic, Josh moved with the ease of someone accustomed to physical challenges. His short, dark hair neatly combed, his smile bright and sincere, Josh was the embodiment of confidence and charm. Rachel watched him fondly, silently appreciating the man she'd married. He walked behind her chair, wrapping strong arms gently around her shoulders, leaning down to plant a soft kiss on her forehead. "Morning, beautiful," he whispered affectionately. His voice was comforting, familiar, a source of strength she relied on daily. "Morning," Rachel replied, smiling softly. She placed her hand on his, lingering briefly. These small moments, simple gestures, were the foundation of their life together, steady and reassuring. The peaceful moment was soon interrupted by their son Sam, bounding into the kitchen with messy red curls and bright, curious eyes. At 8 years old, Sam embodied boundless energy and a heart full of adventure. Josh released Rachel and caught Sam mid-jump, lifting him into a spinning hug. "Dad," Sam laughed loudly, eyes sparkling with joy. Double quotes. "Hey, champ, ready for school today?" Josh asked, setting Sam down gently. Sam nodded enthusiastically, his eyes full of admiration as he looked up at his father. Rachel cherished these everyday moments. They held more meaning than she could ever fully express. Breakfast was lively as usual. They shared laughter, small talk, and plans for the weekend ahead. Rachel watched Josh closely, proud of the way he engaged their son, patient, affectionate, teaching Sam values she deeply admired. Josh was not just her husband. He was her hero, a respected firefighter who dedicated his life to saving others. Portland trusted and admired him deeply, and Rachel shared that admiration wholeheartedly. After breakfast, Josh prepared for work, carefully donning his firefighter uniform. Rachel observed silently, her heart swelling with both pride and subtle worry. Being a firefighter's wife meant learning to live with an undercurrent of anxiety buried beneath daily routines. Josh sensed her gaze and turned, smiling reassuringly. "I'll be home late tonight. I volunteered for that training session with the new guys." Rachel nodded, masking the worry in her eyes. "Be safe." "Always," he promised, kissing her warmly, then tousling Sam's hair playfully before stepping out the Rachel watched through the window until Josh's red truck disappeared down the tree-lined street. Then she breathed deeply, gathered her belongings, and drove Sam to school. Life moved onward smoothly, steadily, without hinting at the storm gathering silently ahead. The morning passed quickly in Rachel's classroom, filled with energetic second graders at Portland Elementary. Teaching gave her purpose and joy. Though today her mind frequently drifted to Josh, she'd learned to trust her intuition. And today, something felt off, something she couldn't quite place. By late afternoon, the principal approached Rachel with a gentle yet unsettling expression. "Rachel, Josh's captain called. They need him urgently for a huge fire outbreak in Seattle. He volunteered to join the Portland support team." Rachel's heart tightened slightly, but she forced a composed smile. Josh often responded to distant emergencies, and she knew he thrived on helping others. "Thanks for letting me know," she replied, calmly. Still, as she gathered Sam and drove home, a persistent, uneasy feeling lingered. By evening, local news began reporting the Seattle fire, unusually fierce, rapidly spreading through an industrial district. Rachel's heart quickened as she glimpsed footage of blazing warehouses and black smoke thickening the evening sky. She reassured herself silently Josh was trained, skilled, and experienced. He'd faced danger before and always returned home safely. Hours passed. Sam slept peacefully in his room, blissfully unaware. Rachel, however, was glued to the television, anxiety tightening around her like a coil. She waited desperately for news, reassurance, any confirmation that Josh was safe. Finally, her phone rang shortly after midnight. Her stomach twisted painfully. Recognizing the fire chief's number, her heart thudded violently, hands trembling. She answered quietly, voice strained with fear. "Hello?" The chief's voice was heavy with gravity, each word landing like stone. "Rachel, there's been a complication. Josh was helping evacuate workers from a building when it collapsed. We've searched extensively, but there's no trace of him. We found only his helmet, partially burned." Rachel's breath caught, her knees weakening instantly. She grasped the edge of the table desperately, trying to steady herself as tears blurred her vision. "No," she whispered brokenly, voice barely audible. "Please, please tell me you're still searching." "We're doing everything possible," he assured gently, though his voice betrayed deep sadness. "But Rachel, you must prepare yourself. The chances of survival, they're extremely slim. I'm so sorry." The call ended. Rachel dropped to her knees, sobs wrenching violently from deep within. Waves of anguish crashed mercilessly, drowning all rational thoughts. Sam, awakened by the noise, rushed into the kitchen, eyes wide with confusion and fear. "Mommy?" Rachel opened her arms, pulling him tightly against her chest, crying uncontrollably as the harsh reality settled upon them. The hero they had loved, the husband and father who had kissed them goodbye just hours before, was gone. That moment, dark, anguished, raw with grief, changed their lives irrevocably. They clung desperately to each other on the cold kitchen floor, hearts shattered, unaware that Josh's body was never found. Officially declared dead, he left behind an emptiness impossible to fill, questions impossible to answer. Outside, dawn broke silently, indifferent to the tragedy unfolding within their home. Portland soon awoke to news of their hero's disappearance, igniting public mourning and disbelief. Yet Rachel and Sam, trapped in their own private devastation, were unable to see past their immediate pain, unaware their story was far from over, and the man they mourned was far more complicated than they ever imagined. The days following Josh's disappearance blurred into one painful, endless moment for Rachel. At first, reality felt distant, like watching a tragic film from afar. Each morning she awoke hoping it had been a nightmare, yet each day the truth cruelly remained unchanged. Josh was gone, and Rachel had to continue living somehow for Sam's sake. As weeks turned into months, Rachel began navigating life as a single mother. Days were filled with forced smiles, trying to appear strong for Sam, while nights became a personal battle against loneliness. Sleep eluded her, replaced by long, silent hours spent staring at empty ceilings, replaying their final morning together, the kiss on her forehead, his promise to be safe. The echoes of those simple moments tormented her heart, reopening wounds repeatedly. Financial struggles soon became painfully real. Josh's death benefits covered basic needs initially, but the cost of everyday life, mortgage, school expenses, unexpected repairs piled steadily. Rachel often lay awake, anxiety tightening her chest as she mentally calculated budgets, prioritizing Sam's needs over her own. Friends and family helped where they could, but Rachel's pride, her need to show she was capable, often led her to silently bear burdens alone. Emotionally, each day demanded strength she doubted she possessed. She hid her grief behind gentle smiles and steady routines, believing consistency would protect Sam from further pain. Yet children are perceptive. Sam, sensitive and wise beyond his years, felt his mother's silent struggles. Often, Rachel caught him quietly watching her, concern etched deeply into his young face. Rachel tried therapy briefly, attempting to articulate her pain. However, words felt inadequate, unable to capture the immense void left by Josh's absence. Instead, she found solace privately in her diary. Each night, she recorded her thoughts, fears, and fleeting moments of hope. Writing became her refuge, her silent therapist. Entries varied from painful memories of Josh's laughter to proud milestones Sam achieved at school. The pages held everything she couldn't say aloud, a safe place for her most intimate truths. Sam's grief, though quieter, was equally profound. His cheerful innocence faded slowly, replaced by solemn maturity. Rachel noticed subtle changes. Sam avoided mentioning his father openly, yet often gazed thoughtfully at old photos, as if silently communicating feelings he couldn't express. Sometimes Rachel caught Sam watching news reports about firefighters. With intense concentration, his expression unreadable. These moments tore Rachel's heart apart. Yet she understood the necessity of his private grieving. What puzzled Rachel deeply, however, were Sam's occasional nightmares. Several nights. Each month, he woke up screaming, drenched in sweat, tears streaming down his cheeks. Each time, he told her the same troubling dream: his father coming home. Smiling at first, then suddenly angry, frightening, unfamiliar. Sam never shared details, only vague impressions of fear and confusion. Each nightmare left Rachel disturbed, wondering silently how Sam's subconscious could portray his father, their beloved hero, so strangely. Even more perplexing was Sam's confession one quiet afternoon. Sitting at their kitchen table after school, staring at homework, Sam spoke softly. "Mom, sometimes I feel guilty." Surprised, Rachel knelt beside him, gently taking his hands. "Guilty? Why, sweetheart?" His eyes lowered, voice hesitant. "Because sometimes I feel relieved Dad's gone, and I don't know why." Rachel's heart ached sharply, confusion and sorrow mixing painfully. Yet she held him close, whispering reassurance. Privately, she wrestled with his words, uncertain. How an 8-year-old could feel relief from losing his father. Had grief distorted Sam's emotions, or was there something more she couldn't see? Over time, Rachel's intuition sharpened remarkably. She became perceptive to subtle signs in people's body language, tone, fleeting expressions others missed. This sensitivity grew partly from necessity. Navigating parenthood alone required quick judgments. But Rachel felt something deeper, an instinctive ability developed from prolonged emotional survival. Her diary documented these newfound perceptions, small details about Sam's moods, friends' hidden struggles, even strangers' intentions glimpsed. Briefly at stores or parks, her observations, once ordinary, became profoundly insightful. Gradually, healing glimpses appeared. After 2 years, Rachel smiled spontaneously again, laughter occasionally resurfacing at unexpected moments, often triggered by Sam's infectious giggles or school anecdotes. Friends gently encouraged her to rediscover happiness. Slowly, carefully, Rachel began reclaiming fragments of joy. Though she remained guarded, aware emotional wounds could reopen quickly. Eventually, the media attention faded. Portland moved forward, remembering Josh as a hero lost tragically. But Rachel and Sam's pain remained private, ever present. Josh's absence was tangible, silently shaping their lives and relationships. Friends rarely mentioned him now, perhaps believing silence brought comfort. Yet Rachel often wished someone would speak openly, acknowledge their grief without hesitation or awkwardness. By Sam's 13th birthday, Rachel finally felt stability returning. Her teaching career flourished, providing pride and purpose. Sam excelled academically, socially thriving despite early traumas. Life felt cautiously optimistic, yet Rachel's heart carried quiet vigilance, understanding deeply how quickly life could change. One evening, precisely 6 years after Josh's disappearance, Rachel found herself alone. Sam was visiting a friend, leaving the house quiet. Rachel sat comfortably in the living room, laptop open, mindlessly scrolling through Instagram, something she rarely did, often finding social media trivial. Tonight, however, curiosity distracted her. Photos of friends, distant relatives, and former colleagues appeared routinely. Her mind drifted, absently scrolling, until suddenly a familiar face appeared in her feed. Rachel's finger froze mid-scroll, breath catching sharply. The photograph was ordinary, a family at a beach, smiling casually into the camera. Yet, unmistakably, the man in the photo was Josh. Rachel's heartbeat quickened painfully, confusion swirling violently inside her. She leaned closer, examining carefully, desperately seeking explanations. The man had Josh's exact features, the same strong jaw, dark hair, even the same unmistakable smile she'd fallen in love with long ago. But beside him was an unfamiliar woman, pretty and smiling warmly, holding a toddler, a young girl with bright eyes and dark hair. Rachel's body trembled uncontrollably, nausea rising. Her thoughts raced frantically. Could this be a mistake? A cruel coincidence? But her instincts, those heightened senses she'd trusted implicitly, screamed otherwise. The photo was recent, uploaded days ago from Newport, Oregon, barely 2 hours away. Heart pounding, Rachel felt reality shift beneath her, threatening the fragile stability she'd painstakingly built. Confusion, disbelief, and anger crashed through her simultaneously, shaking her core profoundly. This photo, innocent at first glance, held unimaginable implications. The man Portland mourned as a fallen hero, the husband she had grieved deeply, was alive, living another life, smiling beside another woman, another child. Rachel stared at the screen, frozen in profound shock, her carefully rebuilt world crumbling instantly around her. Rachel's heart pounded relentlessly as she stared at the computer screen, her eyes locked on the smiling face she knew so intimately, yet felt she no longer recognized. She took a screenshot of the image, fingers trembling. Questions poured into her mind like a relentless torrent. Could Josh really be alive? How could he have left them behind? And most hauntingly, why? Sleep abandoned her that night. She lay awake, thoughts spinning endlessly, each scenario more painful than the last. Her rational mind urged her to dismiss this as a cruel coincidence or some twisted digital deception. Yet, deep within, her intuition, the intuition that had sharpened like a knife over these painful years, told her the truth was far darker. Morning came, gray and heavy, echoing Rachel's internal turmoil. Sam noticed her distraction at breakfast, his keen eyes full of concern. "Mom, are you okay?" he asked gently, pouring milk over his cereal. She forced a smile. "I'm fine, honey. Just a headache." Sam didn't seem convinced, but nodded, quietly, finishing his breakfast in silence. Rachel watched him carefully. Sam had grown up so much, yet deep down, he was still the same sensitive boy, carrying hidden burdens too heavy for his age. After dropping Sam at school, Rachel returned home, her determination hardening into action. She opened her diary, carefully writing the date and detailing everything she'd seen in that haunting photograph. Her entry ended abruptly. "I have to know the truth." Days passed in obsessive research. Rachel dove deep into the internet, scrutinizing every detail about the Instagram profile that had posted the photo. The account belonged to a woman named Maya Thompson, whose pictures portrayed an idyllic life in Newport, Oregon. Rachel meticulously documented each detail: Maya's hobbies, her favorite coffee shop, her interactions with friends. Every piece of information was added to Rachel's growing list of clues. The man in Maya's pictures, identified as Eric Foster, matched Josh perfectly. Rachel spent hours comparing photos side by side, identifying minute details: the scar above his eyebrow, the slight dimple that appeared only when he smiled genuinely. She noted these observations in her diary, pages filling rapidly with facts and unanswered questions. Her investigation soon led her to official records. Rachel's fingers trembled as she searched Oregon's databases. Her breath caught sharply when she discovered a marriage record. Eric Foster had married Maya Thompson 4 years earlier. A birth certificate appeared next, revealing a child, Abby Foster, born 2 years ago. Rachel's stomach twisted painfully. The man she'd mourned, whose absence had nearly destroyed her, was not just alive but had remarried and had another child. Rage and confusion blurred together in a painful storm inside her chest. She forced herself to continue each revelation. More painful yet necessary. Further searches unveiled a carefully constructed new life. Eric Foster owned a small home near the beach in Newport. Public records indicated he worked at a local security firm. Rachel wondered bitterly if this new life was simply better than the one he'd had with her and Sam. Had they not been enough? Yet, something troubled her deeply. Josh had loved being a firefighter, his passion genuine. Why abandon that life for such an ordinary existence? Rachel's gut warned her there was more beneath this surface of normalcy. Compelled by these mysteries, Rachel arranged a discreet trip to Newport. She informed Sam and her friends it was a short retreat to clear her head. The lie felt heavy, but she couldn't risk explaining the truth until she had undeniable evidence. Arriving in Newport on a crisp morning, Rachel immediately felt the town's quiet charm: small, friendly, picturesque. She drove carefully, observing everything from local businesses to the serene coastline. Rachel found herself parked across from Eric Foster's address, her heart hammering violently against her ribs. She noted each detail carefully: a small, white house with blue shutters, flower beds neatly maintained. Toys lay scattered on the lawn, a reminder of the innocent child within. It looked so normal, so painfully ordinary. Minutes later, a door opened. Rachel's breath hitched as she saw him clearly: Josh, undeniably alive. He stepped onto the porch casually, kissed Maya goodbye affectionately, then lifted Abby playfully into his arms. The sight tore Rachel's heart anew. Her diary later captured every painful emotion, noting her struggle between anger, sadness, and confusion. Rachel spent the following days discreetly monitoring Eric's daily routines. He dropped Abby at daycare, greeted neighbors warmly, attended his security job punctually. Rachel documented every interaction meticulously. His charisma remained unchanged, charming everyone effortlessly. She remembered vividly how Josh had been a pillar of their Portland community, beloved and admired. Witnessing this familiar charm now felt profoundly unsettling, almost sinister. Yet, cracks in the facade soon emerged. Rachel noticed small inconsistencies, subtle actions that hinted at deeper secrets. Late-night drives, unexplained absences from home. Eric Foster seemed meticulous yet elusive. Her instincts screamed warnings, pushing her deeper into her secretive observation. Doubt seeped into Rachel's mind, gnawing painfully. Had Josh always been capable of such deception? Were her memories genuine, or had she been blinded by love? All these years? She questioned everything now, her trust shattered irreparably. The opportunity Rachel sought arrived unexpectedly at Newport's local market. Browsing aisles quietly, she suddenly saw Maya, just as radiant and welcoming as her photos suggested. Rachel's heart quickened anxiously. Here stood the woman who unknowingly held so many answers. With forced calm, Rachel approached slowly, deliberately bumping into Maya gently, feigning surprise. "Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention," Rachel apologized, smiling kindly. Maya laughed lightly, her expression warm and open. "It's all right, no harm done. Are you new here? I haven't seen you around before." Rachel nodded, maintaining composure. "Yes, just visiting for a bit. It's a lovely town." Maya's eyes sparkled enthusiastically. "It truly is. I moved here a few years ago myself, and honestly, I've never been happier." Rachel carefully concealed the emotional impact of those words. "That's wonderful to hear. I've considered relocating, but I'm still exploring." Maya smiled, warmly, genuine friendliness radiating. "If you need recommendations or anything, please feel free to ask. It'd be nice to see you around more." Rachel seized the moment subtly. "That would be great. Maybe we can grab coffee sometime. I'd love to hear more about Newport." "Of course. That sounds lovely. I'm Maya, by the way." "Rachel," she responded, shaking Maya's hand, feeling an unsettling pang of guilt for deceiving someone so kind, yet knowing it was necessary. As Maya walked away, Rachel's heart raced with adrenaline and unease. She'd established contact, yet the deeper truth remained obscured, hidden behind smiles and ordinary interactions. Rachel's mission grew clearer. She needed answers from within, starting with Maya, though it tore her heart apart. Returning to her rented room, Rachel documented every detail, including Maya's warmth, openness, and undeniable sincerity. Could this woman truly know nothing of Josh's deception? Or was Rachel facing an even darker, more complicated scenario? Lying awake that night, Rachel realized she'd crossed an invisible line. She had willingly stepped into a shadowy, uncertain territory, driven solely by the desperate need for truth. Her diary captured this realization succinctly. "I've gone too far to turn back now. But what awaits me ahead terrifies me more than I ever imagined." Outside, Newport slept peacefully, unaware of the turmoil within Rachel's heart. She knew her next meeting with Maya could either uncover the painful truth or shatter her completely. Yet, despite her fears, Rachel understood clearly she could not stop until the entire truth emerged from beneath the carefully constructed lies of Eric Foster, the husband she thought she'd lost forever. Rachel spent the following days hidden beneath the veil of anonymity Newport offered. carefully blending into its peaceful rhythm. She observed Eric Foster's Josh's life meticulously, each discovery sharpening her fear and disbelief. The charming coastal town, filled with welcoming faces and warm greetings, seemed oblivious to the predator living quietly among them. From her rental car parked discreetly across from his street, Rachel meticulously documented every aspect of his daily routine. Mornings began predictably at precisely 7:30 a.m. Eric stepping onto the porch with a practiced smile, embracing Maya warmly before driving their daughter Abby to daycare. He moved through these rituals effortlessly, as though he'd always been this devoted husband and father. Rachel's diary overflowed with detailed observations, each entry a painful contradiction to the man she'd once known. One morning she wrote, "He kissed Maya tenderly today, just as he once kissed me. It looked genuine, but how can anything about him be real now?" She struggled continuously, battling emotions of jealousy, sorrow, and confusion. Watching Josh embrace his new life felt unbearably cruel. Yet she couldn't tear herself away, compelled by a dark curiosity she barely understood. Slowly, Rachel's careful watchfulness revealed subtle irregularities, small cracks in the flawless facade Eric Foster maintained. He often left home late at night, returning in the early hours before dawn. Rachel noted these absences meticulously, recognizing patterns of secrecy she had ignored in the past. Driven by these unsettling discoveries, Rachel cautiously followed him during these mysterious late-night trips. Her heart raced dangerously as she trailed his car along the deserted coastal road, gripping the wheel tightly. Each journey led to an isolated location, always quiet, secluded spots hidden by darkness. Rachel kept a safe distance, capturing blurry photographs, noting addresses, times, and behaviors. But why? Why risk everything he'd rebuilt so carefully in Newport? Rachel's instincts screamed danger, though the answers remained agonizingly elusive. The conflict within her intensified daily. Memories of the loving, heroic firefighter clashed brutally with the calculating stranger she now observed. Rachel felt increasingly disoriented. Had she ever truly known Josh Miller? Had their marriage, their happiness, been entirely built on lies? Doubt gnawed persistently, reshaping cherished memories into distorted reflections of betrayal. She recalled vividly their honeymoon, their evenings by the fireplace, Josh's playful teasing and deep laughter. How could someone capable of such warmth and kindness also be hiding something so sinister? The dissonance was emotionally suffocating. Each interaction Josh shared with Maya became harder for Rachel to witness. The tenderness he displayed seemed genuine, yet Rachel questioned every gesture. Her diary reflected this torment clearly. "I see him hold Maya's hand, reassuring and gentle. My heart breaks again, but is this kindness or manipulation?" Days passed with mounting tension. Rachel's obsessive observation took a toll physically and emotionally. Sleep became elusive, replaced by vivid nightmares mirroring Sam's earlier dreams. Josh returning, smiling warmly before morphing into something terrifying and unfamiliar. She woke often, gasping, trembling, haunted by visions she couldn't escape. Despite exhaustion, Rachel pressed onward, determined to uncover definitive evidence, something concrete to prove who Josh had truly become. Her opportunity arrived on a stormy Wednesday evening when Eric left home abruptly around midnight. Rachel immediately felt the shift in routine, a sense of urgency and purpose. She followed silently, heart racing with adrenaline, fear, and grim determination. Eric's car moved swiftly, heading down an abandoned coastal road she'd noted previously. Rain hammered against Rachel's windshield, visibility reduced to a blur, but her resolve remained unshaken. Eventually, his car parked beside a dilapidated structure, near the rugged cliffs. Rachel pulled over cautiously, keeping distant enough to remain unnoticed. The building appeared abandoned, a rusty shell of neglect and isolation. She watched carefully as Eric stepped out, scanning his surroundings cautiously before entering swiftly through a partially broken door. Rachel waited several agonizing minutes before daring to follow. Her feet crunched softly across gravel and sand, nerves tightly wound, heart pounding violently. Reaching the door, she hesitated briefly, her breath shallow with fear and anticipation. But she had come too far to retreat now. Inside, darkness enveloped her immediately, her eyes adjusting slowly. The smell of mold and decay filled her nostrils, intensifying her anxiety. Using her phone's dim flashlight, Rachel carefully navigated scattered debris, old crates, and rusting machinery. Each step amplified her dread, yet she forced herself deeper, guided only by determination. A small room emerged, lit faintly by moonlight filtering through broken windows. Rachel's breath quickened as she saw carefully stacked boxes against the far wall, neatly arranged with eerie precision. Something about their orderliness amidst the chaos of the building disturbed her profoundly. Approaching slowly, Rachel opened the first box cautiously. Her stomach churned violently. Inside lay a woman's belongings, clothing, jewelry, personal mementos carefully preserved like macabre trophies. Rachel's hands shook uncontrollably as she moved through boxes, each containing remnants of other women, their lives carefully packed away. Realization hit Rachel brutally. Josh hadn't merely abandoned his past. He was erasing lives entirely, collecting remnants of women he'd presumably harmed. Each box represented another victim, another life destroyed. The horror overwhelmed her senses, tears streaming silently as her flashlight trembled. Yet, she pressed forward, compelled morbid urgency. Her fingers brushed the final box, smaller and slightly more worn than the others. Her heart hammered painfully as she slowly opened it, revealing personal items older, more familiar than the others. Her breathing stopped abruptly. Inside lay an intricately carved wooden jewelry box, her jewelry box. Rachel's vision blurred as she lifted the lid, revealing a silver necklace nestled within velvet. The necklace, a delicate silver chain adorned with a small, engraved heart pendant, had been a treasured gift from Josh, given on their 5th wedding anniversary. Rachel had lost it years ago, assuming it misplaced forever. Now, here it lay, pristine and carefully preserved amidst the chilling collection. Rachel's knees buckled as profound terror and betrayal flooded her body, weakening her entirely. Her mind raced chaotically. Josh had planned this for years, carefully orchestrating his disappearance, carefully planning her demise. Only luck his urgent call to Seattle that night had spared her and Sam from becoming just another box among these horrific souvenirs. Her flashlight trembled violently as tears spilled relentlessly. Each memory with Josh shattered painfully around her, replaced entirely by monstrous betrayal. The hero she had mourned, loved deeply, had always been a shadow, a lie constructed meticulously for reasons she couldn't yet comprehend. Rachel knew. Standing within the horror of Josh's hidden truth, she had irreversibly crossed a threshold. There was no turning back, no erasing this terrifying revelation. She understood clearly the man who'd stolen her heart was a predator, charming, manipulative, deadly. Clutching her necklace tightly, Rachel's resolve hardened amidst her anguish. She knew precisely what must happen next. Josh must be stopped. She would confront Maya, warn her urgently, expose Josh's deadly deception before another family became victims. Yet, as she stood shaking in darkness, holding proof of her own near death, Rachel felt a chilling sensation she couldn't ignore. Josh was more dangerous than she ever imagined. The stakes were no longer just her own heartbreak. Lives depended now on her courage to face the monster lurking behind the familiar face she had once loved. Rachel stood motionless in the darkness of the abandoned warehouse, her hands trembling violently, gripping the delicate silver necklace, a haunting reminder of a life she'd narrowly escaped. Fear coiled around her heart, threatening to choke her as clarity sharpened painfully. Josh was not just a fraud, he was a dangerous predator. The realization washed over her with sickening force. Minutes felt like hours as she gathered strength to move, finally rushing back to her car parked near the edge of the rugged coast. Her mind raced desperately. She knew her next step was critical. She had to warn Maya immediately. Every second counted. Rachel felt profound guilt for hesitating earlier. Realizing she might be too late, she drove through the darkened streets of Newport, each turn filling her with dread, heart pounding furiously. Approaching Maya's house, Rachel parked discreetly, eyes scanning for Josh's vehicle. Relief briefly surged when she saw his car absent. Perhaps he hadn't returned home yet. With determination overriding caution, Rachel hurried to the front door, knocking urgently. Moments stretched painfully until Maya appeared, confusion evident on her gentle face. "Rachel, is everything all right?" Maya asked softly, sensing Rachel's panic immediately. "No, Maya, nothing's all right. Please, we need to talk urgently. Can I come inside?" Rachel's voice trembled, desperate urgency impossible to hide. Concern deepened in Maya's eyes. Yet she stepped back immediately, ushering Rachel into the warmly lit living room. Rachel noticed family photos on the mantel images, now haunting rather than comforting. Taking a deep breath, Rachel faced Maya directly. "I'm sorry for deceiving you, Maya. I'm here because your life is in danger. Yours and Abby's, Eric." "Josh, he's not who you think he is." Maya shook her head, clearly bewildered. "Rachel, you're scaring me. What are you talking about?" Rachel opened her bag shakily, retrieving the necklace and photographs from the warehouse. Spreading them across the coffee table, she watched horror slowly replace confusion in Maya's expression. These belonged to his victims, Maya, women he married, lived with, then disappeared alongside their children. These boxes, these belongings, there. "Trophies," Rachel explained quickly, fighting tears. "He's done this before, several times. Josh Miller Eric Foster is a serial killer." Maya stared silently, breathing ragged, her face pale. Her fingers trembled as she gently picked up photos, horror dawning in her dark eyes. "No, this can't be true. Eric's so gentle, kind. He loves Abby. He loves me." Rachel reached out gently, desperate to break through Maya's denial. "I believed that too, for years. Josh was perfect. Everyone adored him until he vanished. I spent years grieving, only to find him here, living a lie. He planned to kill me and my son. The only reason we're alive is because he was unexpectedly called away by the fire department that night." Maya shook her head, tears streaming silently. "How could I not have seen?" Rachel's voice softened with empathy. "Because he's good at this. It's what he does. He charms, he manipulates, until you trust him completely. Then he moves on, erasing every trace." Maya broke down completely, sobbing quietly. Rachel sat beside her, holding her gently, feeling immense sorrow and shared pain. "I'm so sorry, Maya, but we must act now. Josh is dangerous." Maya nodded slowly, her voice barely audible. "We have to protect Abby." Suddenly, both women realized the house was unsettlingly quiet. Maya stood abruptly, calling her daughter's name repeatedly. Panic rose rapidly as silence replied. "Abby? Sweetheart, where are you?" Maya's voice cracked desperately, anxiety evident. Both women searched frantically, each empty room intensifying their terror. Abby was gone, her bed empty, toys abandoned. Maya's sobs turned hysterical, collapsing desperately against Rachel. Rachel's mind raced painfully, recognizing the pattern immediately. Josh has her. He knows we've discovered him. He took Abby as insurance. Before either could act, Maya's phone rang sharply, cutting the tension abruptly. Maya answered immediately, voice trembling violently. "Hello?" Josh's voice, chillingly calm and familiar, carried clearly through the room. "Hello, Maya. Is Rachel there with you?" Maya glanced at Rachel fearfully, voice shaking uncontrollably. "Where's Abby? Please don't hurt her." Josh laughed softly, coldly. "Relax, Abby's safe for now." "But I'm disappointed, Maya. You shouldn't have trusted Rachel. You complicated things unnecessarily." Rachel took the phone, rage overcoming fear. "Josh, don't do this. Please, Abby is innocent. Let her go." "Rachel," he replied softly, mockingly gentle, "you always did underestimate me. But, I'm glad you're here. Makes things simpler. Abby and I are at Yaquina Head Lighthouse. Come quickly before I change my mind." The line went dead abruptly. Rachel stared blankly, fear and fury intertwined tightly. Maya sobbed helplessly, gripping Rachel's arm desperately. "Please, we have to save Abby." Rachel nodded fiercely, newfound courage crystallizing amid profound terror. "We'll get Abby back. He won't hurt anyone else, I promise you." Both women rushed to Rachel's car, the night air sharp with coldness and dread. The drive to Yaquina Head was tense, silent except for Maya's quiet sobs. Rachel's mind raced chaotically, her diary, her discoveries, each painful revelation converging to this critical moment. She realized clearly she faced someone far more dangerous, manipulative, and sinister than she ever imagined. They approached the lighthouse swiftly, its towering silhouette looming ominously against the stormy night sky. Waves crashed violently below, mirroring their internal turmoil. Rachel gripped the wheel tightly, determination battling anxiety fiercely. This confrontation, long overdue, would decide everything. She parked hastily, both women stepping into fierce, biting wind, eyes fixed desperately toward the lighthouse entrance. Rachel grasped Maya's hand firmly, voice steady despite fear. "Stay close. We'll confront him together." Maya nodded tearfully, gathering fragile courage. "I just want Abby safe." Rachel understood deeply, heart aching for Maya's pain and her own lingering wounds. Yet, beneath the fear lay a resolve stronger than ever. She would stop Josh, no matter the cost. For Maya, Abby, Sam, and herself, justice was finally within reach. As they stepped toward the lighthouse, Rachel's thoughts flashed briefly to her diary pages filled with pain, loss, and discoveries. This night's events would fill its final entry, closing the darkest chapter of her life. Whatever happened next, Rachel was prepared to face it head-on, ready at last to confront the darkness behind Josh's familiar facade, and finally reclaim the truth he'd stolen so cruelly from her. Rachel's heart hammered violently against her ribs as she and Maya hurried toward the Yaquina Head Lighthouse. The night sky was pitch black, thick clouds swallowing any moonlight, casting the entire landscape in ominous shadow. Waves crashed violently against jagged rocks below, their roar echoing Rachel's turmoil. Each step forward felt heavier, more daunting than the last. Yet turning back was unthinkable. Abby's life depended on their courage. Maya trembled beside her, hands clenched tightly, eyes wide with terror and determination. Rachel squeezed her hand gently, silently reassuring her despite her own profound fear. Together, they climbed the final steps, approaching the lighthouse entrance, where a single door stood ajar, waiting for them like a gaping wound in the darkness. Stepping cautiously inside, Rachel's eyes adjusted slowly to the dim interior. The beam of the lighthouse above swung rhythmically, briefly illuminating the circular room. Across from them stood Josh Eric, his figure illuminated periodically by the rotating light, making his calm, detached expression even more chilling. At his side, Abby sat quietly, small eyes wide with confusion, gripping a stuffed animal tightly. Seeing her daughter, Maya gasped quietly, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Abby," Josh smiled softly, an unsettling, emotionless gesture. "Welcome, Rachel." "Maya, I was beginning to worry you wouldn't come." Rachel stepped forward slowly, voice trembling but firm. "Let Abby go, Josh. She's innocent. This isn't who you are." Josh laughed, gentle, disarming sound entirely, at odds with their surroundings. "You've always thought the best of me, Rachel. It's admirable, truly, but you're mistaken. This is exactly who I am." His calm admission sent chills racing down Rachel's spine, yet she pressed on desperately. "I know you, Josh. I remember everything. The man who held Sam when he was born, who laughed easily, who protected people. I refuse to believe that man is completely gone." Josh's expression softened briefly, flickering memories crossing his eyes. For a split second, Rachel saw vulnerability, before it vanished, replaced again by cold detachment. "You were always sentimental. But your memories deceive you. Everything you loved was a carefully constructed lie." His words stabbed sharply, yet Rachel persisted, digging deeper into their past. "No, I remember clearly our 5th anniversary, how you gave me that necklace, promising we'd always be together. You were real then, Josh. Please find that part of yourself again. Abby deserves a father, not a monster." His jaw tightened, momentarily shaken. Rachel saw clearly now beneath the surface lay buried remnants of humanity, distorted and fragile. She stepped closer, speaking gently, earnestly. "You loved Sam deeply once. Do you remember teaching him to ride his bike? He trusted you completely." "I trusted you completely." Josh's eyes flickered uncertainly, conflict visible. Yet abruptly, his expression hardened violently. "Enough. Those memories mean nothing. You're grasping at illusions, Rachel." He moved suddenly, gripping Abby's arm roughly, pulling her toward him. Maya gasped in horror. Rachel shouted desperately, "Let her go. Don't do this." Suddenly, footsteps echoed rapidly behind them. Rachel spun around sharply, heart freezing. Sam stood breathlessly at the doorway. Fear and resolve mingled in his young face. "Sam, no, stay back." Sam shook his head defiantly, voice trembling yet fierce. "Let her go, Dad, please." Josh stared blankly, momentarily stunned by his son's sudden appearance. Rachel seized the distraction instantly, lunging forward to pull Abby away from Josh's grasp. Chaos erupted violently as Josh retaliated, swinging aggressively toward Rachel. Eyes wild with rage. In a split second of instinctive courage, Sam grabbed a heavy metal flashlight from the floor, striking Josh forcefully from behind. Josh stumbled forward, dazed and disoriented, collapsing momentarily to the ground. Rachel quickly scooped Abby into her arms, handing her safely to Maya, who sobbed uncontrollably, clutching her daughter desperately. Rachel wrapped Sam tightly into her embrace, fiercely protective. "Are you all right?" she asked breathlessly. Sam nodded shakily, eyes fixed cautiously on his father's crumpled form. Behind them, sirens wailed rapidly, police cars racing toward the lighthouse, their lights casting bright red and blue beams through the darkness. Officers rushed into the lighthouse, quickly apprehending Josh, who resisted briefly before surrendering quietly. Cold eyes locked onto Rachel as he was led away. Police radios crackled urgently, revealing chilling truths. Josh Miller Eric Foster was responsible for multiple disappearances and murders across several states. Each revelation intensified Rachel's shock and grief, yet affirmed their desperate actions that night had prevented another tragedy. Outside, beneath the harsh glow of emergency lights, Rachel, Maya, Abby, and Sam clung tightly together, emotions raw, relief mingling profoundly with sorrow. Maya embraced Rachel fiercely, voice choked with gratitude and pain. "Thank you, Rachel. You saved my daughter. You saved us." Rachel and Maya share a quiet embrace, recognizing that their survival was truly a team effort. As police secure the scene, Rachel comforts Sam, praising his extraordinary courage in protecting both her and Abby. Sam, tearful yet resolute, promises to remember the good in his father despite the darkness revealed. Back home, Rachel records the night's events in her diary, acknowledging the painful truth about Josh while celebrating the unexpected strength she and Sam discovered. Closing the diary brings her a profound sense of release. In the months that follow, Maya and Abby remain close to Rachel and Sam, the four of them forming an unbreakable bond through shared trauma. Sam matures into a wiser, more resilient teenager, carrying both scars and hard-won strength. They later revisit Yaquina Head Lighthouse together, standing beneath clear skies and feeling the ocean breeze, a symbol of their newfound freedom. Rachel realizes Josh's shadow has finally lifted. His betrayal has forged her courage. United by survival and hope, they move forward stronger than ever, no longer defined by fear but by resilience and love.